This is CDR and our collaboration with Saffron. So we're originally based out of London, but we have factions in different cities, including Bristol. And yeah, it's just a place where people can come, play their own music, meet like-minded people, and hear from the masters. So today we have quite the master, who is Shanti Celeste. Yeah, we'll leave room for a Q&A at the end, so if you have any questions, there will be time then. But yeah, I'll leave it over to you, Lizzie. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Annie. Hi, everyone. So yeah, sorry, Shanti. I'm Lizzie Ellis from Saffron, and I am really pleased to be hosting with Shanti this final instalment of the Saffron CDR Collab Artist Talks, which have been made possible thanks to Arts Council England. So how this is going to run is we're going to have about 45 minutes of chat and looking at some of Shanti's project files. We're going to dissect a couple of tracks, and then, yeah, there'll be about 15 minutes at the end for Q&A. So, yeah, Shanti, welcome.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. I'd love to start by asking you to kind of self-describe your sound and your vibe as an artist.
I find it quite hard to describe my sound because I don't really notice my sound, but other people do, if you know what I mean. So, like, everyone will be like, "Oh, you have such a sound," and I'm like, "Do I?" I don't think, because it's like it's hard to see it when it's like all in your mind, if that makes sense. But I would say it's quite fun and uplifting. I don't tend to make much kind of like sad music because it makes me sad. So I try and make music that like just makes me want to like rave or like feel euphoria, if you know what I mean. So yeah, and lately I've just been, I don't know, I've like finally, I like spent a lot of my music career trying to write like bangers basically, but not kind of able to do that. And then I finally got to the point now where I feel like I can. So now I just keep making like just tunes that like work really well in the club, I think. And I'm happy that I've finally reached that stage after 10 years of doing this. But now I'm like, oh, I want to make something else now. So might move on to making something a bit different. But yeah, that's, I don't know, I feel like I've veered to something else now. But you asked me, what was the question?
The question was like to self-describe your sound and vibe, which I think you've done. I would definitely agree that it is fun, it's euphoric. I would always describe your sound as very bouncy. It's just very bouncy.
I like that. I like that.
So, okay, let's strip it back before we get into where you are now with music. Tell us a bit about your kind of background and heritage, music-wise, like your family. Has any of that kind of informed
music family or like inspiration?
Oh, both?
Bit both. So music family would be, started off, I suppose, in Idle Hands when it used to be next door down there. Chris Farrell, who hired me, was definitely like a massive part of my career because he was the one that like was pushing me to start making music. I was already DJing, but he like hired me to work at the shop and was like, you should make music, you should do it. And I was like, I don't know. Because I'm not like, I don't love technical things. I'm not very good with computers. Like just computer stuff actually kind of really bores me. So I didn't think that I would be very good at it because I didn't think that I would enjoy that side of it. But obviously it still involves being creative, which is what I do enjoy. So and then there was like just all the DJs that were kind of around in that time, like in the area, like Sam Binger and Cowton and Pinch and Peverlist, like all of those people would always come in the shop and chat to me, and like I would borrow a synth from someone, and it would just be, and that like, yeah, those were like kind of like, and Hodge, still one of my like really good like sounding boards. So that's like the family, I suppose, of just like people who like inspired me, and I probably haven't mentioned lots of people. There's like other people who really inspired me, like just on a DJ level anyway, and then influences, I think, from back then, and that still influence me now, is just anything like house related from like New York, Chicago, and like and Europe, like UK, like tech house and like house from the Netherlands. But I think the main thing that like was my original inspiration that still I feel like is very true within my sound today is like people like Kerry Chandler and like Mood to Swing and Masters at Work and stuff like that. So yeah, that's that.
That makes a lot of sense to me, actually. Was music something that you always wanted to get into when you were growing up, or is it something that happened kind of when you got to Bristol?
So I bought some decks when I was like 17, but that was just like a hobby. And I was hanging out with a load of boys who all had decks. So I was like, I want some decks. And it was, I used to get really nervous because I was trying to get them to teach me, but because I was the only girl, I was always a bit like, ooh, like nervous. But then I just like practiced in my bedroom. But I never, to be honest, I always just thought it was going to be a hobby. And like I thought I was going to do art. And that's why I moved to Bristol. I moved to do illustration. But after like a year of doing it, I was like, university is not for me. So I quit basically, and then got a job in Idle Hands, and then it just all snowballed from there. It definitely wasn't like a planned thing, just kind of happened.
And had you been DJing for long before you started producing? Like, did it happen simultaneously?
So I had been DJing. Like I like grew up in the Lake District, and I went to do my foundation in art and design in Truro, but I lived in Falmouth, and I had a year there where like I would DJ quite a bit, like once every 2 months or something, but like, you know, more than I'd ever DJed before. So that's kind of like was my first bit of practice. And then as soon as I moved to Bristol, I already had met this girl called Kim, who is now still my agent, but she was already living in Bristol, and we basically decided before I even moved here that we were going to start a night, and it was called Super Ultra Mega. And it was at the Lab. It was, I don't know if you remember the Lab. And she would be like the booker, and I would be like the resident DJ. So that's kind of like, so as soon as I moved to Bristol, I was like DJing basically, but like at my own night, like as a resident, which is when I was like, 19? So I was DJing for like, bedroom DJ for like, I would say maybe 2 years, then into being like a kind of semi-regular DJ. And then when I did my RA mix, which I think was around about the same time that I'd had my first release, that's when like it all started to like snowball a bit, and then it became like a job, if you know what I mean. But yeah.
Okay. So let's talk now then about your actual approach to production and making music. Has that changed at all from when you started, or have you always been using Logic and kind of in the box, or what's
Ableton.
Ableton, sorry.
I actually used to use Logic.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, I used Logic for years. And yeah, I did. And then I just kept like going to like people's like friends' studios who were using Ableton, and it just looked so fun and like colourful and like intuitive. Like there was lots of things that I wish I could do on Logic that like I couldn't, that you could do on Ableton. Like I think the thing that swayed me was that like you can like click on, like you can, I don't know, import a sample or like say, or like a drum loop that you like, and then you can convert it to MIDI or to a drum rack. So then you have like the exact hits, therefore like you can have like the exact swing of that thing on there, which I don't know, I'm really bad at explaining this stuff, but I was like, ooh, that sounds like a really cool feature that like I would definitely benefit from, because there's so many like hi-hats that I like the sound of, and I don't know how to recreate them because it's just sometimes really hard, you know? And that's why I made the switch. That's also not the question you asked me, but...
It kind of is. I mean, is there anything you miss about Logic, though?
Yeah, it sounds really good. Logic just sounds a lot better than Ableton, I think. Like, when I listen to my productions back then, they sound really good. And my productions now sound good also, but that's only because I've decided that I don't mix my tracks anymore and I get someone else to do it because I can't be asked.
Yeah. We'll get into the mixing and mastering bit in a bit, I think, in more detail.
Okay, yeah. I want to talk about that, actually, because it's important. Anyway, yeah.
Definitely. Okay, so we're using Ableton these days, and you produce at home, I think, most of the time.
Yes, I have my studio at home.
Okay, and are you using much other equipment, or are you generally kind of quite laptop based?
I'm quite in the box. I used to, like, I've got a bunch of synths. I've got a Juno 106, and I've got this like Yamaha synth that I still use quite a bit. And then I've got this like Korg sequencer and one of the Volca drum. And I've got a few bits, but I don't actually use them that much anymore because it just kind of interrupts my flow sometimes. And I'm a very like I say, I don't like technical things, and I just need to get results immediately. Otherwise, I get really bored because I've got ADHD, and I just get very like I need like immediate vibes. So sometimes it's easier to do that. But if I want like a specific sound that I know I can only get from like specifically my Yamaha synth, I will use it. Yes.
Okay, so let's get into some of those. Let's have a listen.
Okay. Oh, it's a horse. Very bassy.
Good move.
All right. Lovely work, Shanti. Okay, so let's break this down then. What was the situation with stems? Did you get a lot to work with, or did you have to do a lot of this stuff from scratch?
I didn't get a lot to work with, no, because it's the original track is like 150 BPM or something, so there was like 8 elements, maybe, at the most, I think. So I mainly just used the vocals, pretty much all of them. I used the chord, so like the main chord that's like, you know, the main chord, there isn't really another one, is from the original, and I wonder if the kick drum might be from the original, but yeah, I think the kick drum is, and then also I didn't use the bass, but I used the same bass sound, so I tried to find a sound that was like as close to it as possible, and like then just did my own bass line basically. So yeah, but I think the vocal is what kind of just makes it.
Yeah, totally. And what about the horse noise? Did you get that sample?
Well, yeah, it's at the beginning and at the end.
Okay, talk us through then what's going on here and how you've kind of arranged all your parts and stuff.
Okay, so all the pink bits are the drums, and then all the middle bit, the purple stuff, is the like melodic stuff, the bass, little like riffs, like organ riff over the top, little held high note that I always use to like build tension. And then here is like all the vocals and just like effects that I use to also build some tension and like, you know, that's what I call it, build tension. I don't know what else it's called, but yeah, that's basically it. Yeah.
Okay, so perhaps can we listen to some bits like soloed and just tell us a bit about what you've done with the sound?
So what my favorite part is actually this, which is, I don't know if you have Max for Live, there is this plugin called the Granulator 2, which you like, for those of you who don't know, is like you basically just drag anything into it and it just kind of like picks out like random parts of it and like mixes them together, and like you can like, it's just really sick. And like I basically just added one of the vocals to it and it just turned it into this, which is, I feel like one of my favorite parts of the track, this bit. And yeah, and you can play like the notes with it, and you can do loads of stuff with it. I mean, I can't show you it because my CPU is so bad that I have to flatten and turn everything into audio. So I can't really show you a demo of how to do that. I mean, I can show you, but then the CPU might get all funny again. But yeah, that was like a good thing to do. It's really fun to do that. Another thing that I quite like doing, but this is actually more on the drums bit, is, so I actually work with some, I mainly do my own drums like with the drum rack, but then I also because I spent a really long time just being like, oh, like why can't I just make the hats that I want to make, blah, blah, blah. And then I was just like, I'm just gonna fucking use Splice, because like that's what people make those loops for, do you know what I mean? So I just started going on Splice and being like bongo loop and whatever loop, and I've used like 2 loops of stuff from Splice on here. And what I like to do with it is, like, for example, this bongo loop, let's just have a little go at this. So you can like click on it, and on here at the bottom you can, like, if you select the arrow that pushes forward, so that goes that way, you can then affect like how much of the sound is being played, and you can make it like really like snappy if you want to, like that, and then you can use different transients. So it's not really working as much in this sample, but like it's really why isn't it working? Oh, it's because it's on the different thing. You can hear it now, can you? Anyway, okay, it's not working that well with the sample, but it's really good for vocals, because don't know if you've heard like when saying like trance tunes, there's like a vocal that goes like like that. That's how they do it. And I only just figured it out when I was doing it on my drums. But yeah, that's a cool little tool. And then and this is the hat loop that I just now use on everything. I think it's like an MJ Cole like loop, like sample pack. And MJ Cole, is it MJ Cole? Is it, hang on. And you can do it there. See? Like that. So then like, you can use that to like build the loop. So you can start like that at the beginning of the track, and then you can like open it up as it goes like on and on and on. And that's basically what I do with like loads of my percussion now, because it just like makes it like get momentum as like the track like keeps going, rather than having to just add other things. You just like you just mess around with that. Sorry, I'm not like very technical, so I find it really hard to talk about these things. I'm like, that thing, that parameter, that thing. The preserve, that's what it's called.
I think it's actually really refreshing to see your approach, though, where it's not like getting too bogged down in those kind of technical things, which definitely has its place, and everyone does things differently, but it is really nice just to be like, yeah, you can just whack out a banger and not get too stressed.
Yeah.
Talk to us about bass and kicks and what you do there.
I mean, it's very simple. I'm very, very a simple producer, really. Like that's, it's just a drum rack, and I just like, oh look, the drum rack has lots of samples from the original track, it seems. So we can listen to them all. So, oh yeah, that's the high string. So I use the drum rack for lots of different parts of this, because I think I just put all of the samples on here. There's the crash. So all the crashes are from that. The clap is from there. So I actually use quite a lot of the elements. Yeah, that's the kick. They're all in the drum rack. And just one more time. And then, yeah, the bass is it's the SH-101. So I use the Roland Cloud, and the SH-101 is like my go-to synth for bass. I always use it. Like, yeah, it's very like a distinct shanty bass sound, I would say. Well, not one of the sounds on here, but the CPU is going to go mad. Oh no, it's not. It's not too. Oh, it's crashed. Oh, let's have a look. Oh, there it is. This one. I always use this one. What is it? Oh, where's the bass? There we go. Yeah, I love that bass sound. I always use it. Sometimes I'm like, I'm going to use a different bass today. And then I'll go on this and I'll be like, nah. So yeah, but there's loads of really cool sounds. Like the SH-101 is very, very sick for bass. And it's always really loud and like just beefy. It sounds good. Although sometimes I will layer it with a sub, but not this one, because that bass sound is actually just, yeah.
Okay. Melody and harmony, I feel like you're known for being very melodic and everything kind of sounding nice and fitting together. Do you have any kind of background in like chords and stuff?
No. Do you have a background in chords? No, I don't actually. No, I don't. I remember, who was it? Someone. I've had some piano lessons, and I was taught. But it was Luke Type, one of Jay's friends. Yeah, he once came to my house and taught me something about chords that like I just never forgot, and that's like why I remember. Like that's why I can make melodies. Whereas like I'm going to explain this really badly because I don't know the technical term for it, but it's like every note has its own kind of scale. So it's not all just like, oh, blah, 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 blah. Like you have to click the different notes. So since I learned that, then like I now can like easily find like different like types of scales to work with that I like the sound of, and then I know just to use those notes. But I'm not good at like I can't just be like blah, 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 like play loads of different chords. Like I'll record one chord and then I'll record again and then I'll record the other chord. Do you know what I mean? It's like it takes me a while, but I do it because I like the way it sounds. So yeah, I don't have a background in chords.
All right. Okay, what else should we say about this before we go on to the next tune?
Maybe people might have questions about it. I don't know. It's not question time yet.
We're supposed to do questions at the end.
Okay, fine.
We should also say this is like the raw unmixed file. Yeah, talk to us about mixing now then.
Oh yeah, so I used to do my own mixing. I did it for years, like probably up until like last year. But I've always hated it because I just find that part of it is not for me. Like I find it really boring. It confuses me. Every time I do it, I forget everything I've learned about it. and then it's because I've got ADHD, so like I find it hard to like focus on things that I don't care about, and I don't care about that process. I should care because it makes it sound good, but I just really just find it hard to remember like the technicals of it, because it's like quite like mathsy. Do you know what I mean? There's lots of like dBs and like so but I was doing it because I just felt like I had something to prove, and I'm like, you know, I'm a woman in the music industry, and like if I don't do it, then like people will think I have a ghost producer, and fuck knows. Anyway, I just like basically, sorry, I keep swearing. But yeah, I did it because I felt like I had something to prove, and then I got to the point last year where I was like, I have literally nothing to prove, and I don't even care anymore, so I'm going to pay my friend to do it. So now I just pay my friend to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great approach. Like, not everyone has to be 100% at everything, and why not play to your strengths, and then you can just keep like banging stuff out.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of pressure. Sorry, I feel very passionate about this. There's a lot of pressure to just like do absolutely everything yourself. Like even to the point where like now I'm like I'm making an album, and like all of a sudden I was like, oh, I would maybe quite like to get some feedback from a different producer about like where to go next with my album. But like in my mind, I'm like, oh no, because that's cheating. But then I speak to my friends who like do production work with like bigger like pop artists and stuff like that, and they're like, that's so normal. That's really standard. Like when you get to a certain level to like collaborate with other producers and to get like, you know, a second pair of ears on like a track that you might be really stuck on. Do you know what I mean? But like I think also as a woman, it's like I've always felt the pressure to do it all myself as well, like everything myself, just so that like it feels like it's mine, you know, have control over it, and you know. But
yeah, absolutely. And what about mastering? Do you have any thoughts about that? Do you ever kind of like, I know mastering can feel like a bit of a, like, what even is it? Why is it?
I mean, it sounds great when it's done.
Yeah.
To be honest, like, I've never got a master back and thought, oh, this is terrible. I've always been like, this sounds great.
Okay, so you're not one to, like, do, like, 5 rounds of feedback on a master?
No,
okay.
I'm not.
I guess in theory, if the mix is good enough, the mastering engineer just has to do one pass on
The only time that I actually felt like, wow, this is actually really cool is when I did my last album, because I paid to have like attended sessions. So I went to Matt Colton, who's like, I don't know if people who know, like people who master, like he's like a legend. And I went to sit in the studio with him and I watched him do it, and like it was pretty sick, just because he's got all this crazy like old gear that he uses, and like it was cool to just, he'd be like, oh, now we're gonna put it through this, and huge speakers, and that was pretty great, and like I really kind of understood it then. And to be honest, like even when I listen to my album now, not that I sit around listening to my old album, but like sometimes for reference, you know. I'm like, wow, this does sound good. So I suppose it does make a difference. But it's just so, for me, maybe my ears aren't like that fine-tuned, because I just find it sometimes quite hard to, it's such a subtle difference, like between like one person who masters versus another person who masters. It might, to me, do you know what I mean? To someone else, it might be like a really obvious difference, but to me, it's just like...
Fair enough. Okay, should we get the other track open?
Okay.
Which,
so we kind of discussed earlier that both tracks are quite similar, because they're both just of my current era of making music. But that's fine. So this one, what's it called? It's called, yeah.
So this is a little exclusive, this one.
This isn't finished.
Unreleased, unfinished.
Yes.
How long ago did you start this current work in progress, and how long do you generally do you find it hard to let go of tracks and go, right, that's done, I'm going to put it out the door?
No, I like, get out of here. This one is like, I started it like a couple of weeks ago. I've only really worked on it like maybe 2 or 3 times. I'm quite quick, but also, yeah, I don't know. I think I've just got a formula now. Okay, should I play it from the beginning?
Before you play it, what's the formula?
I just know how to structure my tracks now. So, because the thing that used to take me the longest would be arrangement, and like just to make, you know, to have like tension building moments that drop, and like, you know, building momentum with percussion, and like, you know, when things would come in and out, and like I just like it used to take, I don't know, it's like it took me a lot of practice to get to the point where I'm like, okay, I know that I need to have I need to have little effects and things that happen at certain moments to just like switch up the tension, and like, do you know what I mean? It's just things that you just learn over time to just like add to your track so that like the arrangement becomes a bit easier and you're not just sat there being like, oh, what now? Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah.
Okay, cool. Let's have a listen.
Okay, but wait, this needs to go away. Okay, no, it's fine. This may not sound very good because it's a work in progress. Loads of samples on it. And it starts off like a breakdown, basically. I thought it could be a good opener for a set, you know what I mean?
All right. Sorry. Okay, so we've got about 5 minutes before we do Q&A just to chat about this one.
Wow, that went by really fast.
Some lovely classic samples in there. Any eagle-eared?
Do you think it sounds really similar to the other one?
I think it sounds really different.
Great.
Okay, tell us what you've done and why you've done it.
Okay, so I wanted to I don't know if you know that tune by Underworld called 2 Months Off, which is just like, okay, so the pads, they're like, dee, 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 not the pads, the chords. I wanted to kind of I wanted to create, and this is the thing, this is a work in progress, so I am going to make it more like, rah, but I wanted to create a very euphoric and hands in the air, I'm so happy kind of moment. So that's why I did the stabs, these ones. Should we just solo them for a minute? Why not? Anyway, there's absolutely no effects on any of this, so that's why it sounds a bit dry. But yeah, it's going to become more of a moment. I still want to add a held kind of high note that's just to give it some more, hands in the airiness and euphoria. It's got a tribal-y loop here, which I did that thing, the thing here, so it sounds like this there, because I did the preserve thing, and then here it sounds like this, a bit bigger, and then it changes. Oh, you can't hear the change. Well, here it sounds different, I know for sure. Well, you can't hear the subtleties, but that's not my fault, that's the speakers. There is a subtlety because it squashes it into little transients, and then as it goes on, it opens it up. And then I did I've got loads of effects. So every time something happens, there's these little effects, which just I need both of my hands. Okay, there we go. So these happen just whenever something's about to happen. And it just it's good for changing things. A lot of people like to use little drum but I use these. And yeah, that's it. And what else is there? I used a sub. I didn't use a bass, which is weird for me. But I probably will layer it because I think it needs something sitting a little bit higher than just so low. If that makes sense. This is my great language. But yeah, that's the sub. And then that's it really. And I use the same hi-hats as the Horse Girl remix because they're really good. Anyway, yeah, it's kind of a similar... wait. And basically, I started this when I got really stoned, and then I wanted to start writing music, because I don't usually write music when I'm high, because I get really confused. But I did it this time, and I went, and I opened this jungle sample pack where it just has loads of vocal chops, it has all kinds of samples. But I then just picked out the sex noise first, and then I did the thing again, and then I just kept layering them, because I was this one will sound good, and then this one will sound good. I don't usually layer vocal samples like that, but I did this time because it sounded good. So yeah, so that's how the tune started. It started with these vocal samples, which is why it starts a bit like it's a breakdown. Anyway, yeah, that's it.
You usually, often add your own vocals to stuff. Do you think you'll do that on this one, or
no?
Oh.
Okay. I have been doing a lot of sing-songy songs, housey songs, which you will probably hear at some point in the next, year or so, but not this one, no, sadly, sorry. I didn't think about it, but then it would sound weird, it'd be there's a different lady singing there, and then this lady.
Okay, you don't want too clashy.
Nah.
Kind of. All right. We've actually got 2 minutes before we have to start the Q&As.
Okay.
But I would actually like to leave plenty of time because there's so many people here. So maybe
let's just do the Q&A.
Yeah,
I'm fine with that.
I think we should.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much. That was amazing. So we have one mic, which I'll bring to you. Hands up with any questions, and I'll move around the room.
Oh. Hello. Hello.
What synth did you use for the stabs in that track? We were really loving it.
I think it's a Diva, the UH, you know the UHE Diva?
Yeah, I do actually have that. I've just never used it.
It's really good. I used this a lot. I use this, and there's another UHE soft synth called the Brazil, and I use them both. I use the Brazil a lot for like effects. So like like swishy kind of like textural things to just put in the background to like make it a little bit thicker. And then the Diva is really good for chords. Like I like it mainly for chords and stabs. I used it for like, don't know if you've heard the track I did that I just released on my label called Bounce. That or the chords and that are from the Diva as well. Yeah, it's good. I like it a lot. Any more questions? Oh, no questions.
I'll go here first.
Hey, Shanti.
Hello.
Those tunes are sick, so nice one.
Oh, thanks.
So, like, you touched on like your process.
Yes.
So, like, I think like anyone in the room who makes music, like everyone's got like a different thing, like a way they approach making a tune. So, like, what's your thing? So, like, do you like write a load of different ideas and then pick one you like and then run with that? And then how do you do it? Like, what's your thing?
Oh, as in like, okay, yeah, I get what you mean. So I will start an idea and I will continue with it until I get bored. And then when I get bored, I will stop that and I will start something new, basically. And I will just keep doing that. And then eventually I'll get to the point where I'm like, oh, I'm really uninspired. And then I'll just go back and I'll open like several old projects and see what has legs and what hasn't. And then I often find stuff in there and like I'm writing an album now, and I would say probably 6 songs that are on the album were recycled from stuff that I'd been making that I got bored with, that I then just like picked back up. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, that's the story with that. I don't like, it's like, cause I used to like persevere sometimes, and I would be like, no, don't give up, just continue. But then like, then I would spend like so long doing something, and then by the end I'd be like, this is a fucking piece of shit, and then I'd be really annoyed at myself for like wasting all that time. So yeah, Any more questions? Does that answer your question? Okay, good.
Anyone else?
There's a couple of people here.
Hi.
Hi.
You said that it took you a while to figure out like arrangements and structure.
Yeah.
You got any tips for that?
Yes. Okay, so I don't know where I saw this, but this is how I learned to arrange things. I don't really do it like that anymore, but it really helped me, where you just like, so if you make a loop that's like, I don't know, like, what's this? Like, I don't know about bars, but like if you make a loop that's like a minute long, right? And you kind of fill it up as much as possible with things that work together until you get to the point where you're like, really, this doesn't need anything else because it would just sound shit. So fill it up to that point, but also like don't have everything running from start to finish. Like have things within that 1 minute loop, have things come in and out. Do you know what I mean? And then just like copy and paste that loop just like 4 times, literally. And then just like from there you kind of have a skeleton, but then you can take things out and add things in and like, and like filter things in and out, and then you can start like creating like a dynamic flow to it. Do you know what I mean? But it's less daunting than just like starting a 1 minute loop and then being like, well, now what? You know what I mean? If you just copy and paste it, it's actually really simple. That really helped me. Like it changed the way I arrange things. And like now you wouldn't even be able to tell, because now I just know what needs to go where, but it all came from that, to be honest. So yeah, I hope that's helpful.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hello.
Hi.
I was going to ask more about your sound. You said like you're interested in other things later on.
Mm-hmm.
If you were going to like make something that was different to the Shanti sound, would you put that out as Shanti, or would you put it out as something else? Or if you was just coming up, would you make things that are just Shanti sound? Or do you know what I mean?
Interesting question. I feel like it's always going to sound like me to other people. Like
I mean more like as an advice thing. So if producers in here like multiple things, do you think they should go out, stay in a kind of avenue, or do multiple things, or do you know what I mean? Do you mean like in this? So because one thing is like you being like, I'm going to make dance music, but then also I'm going to try and make loads of different things, or are you referring to like, oh, I'm making dance music and now I want to make hip hop, so should I have a different name for that? Yeah. Okay. I think that like
I don't know. It's a funny one because for me, I don't think the only reason I would start another alias would just be for fun. Do you know what I mean? It wouldn't be because I think I should have an alias because this is going to sound different. I would always just continue being myself because I think it's really hard to like, but this is completely relative to like your journey as an artist, because if you're someone that like, I don't know, like if you can somehow get a career really quickly and then you want to do something different and you're confident that that will get recognition really quickly, then maybe you can have different aliases. Or maybe you don't care about that, do you know what I mean? But for me, like I've worked really hard and for a very long time to like build this like myself and like to where I am today, and like to start a new alias, it would be more of just like a fun side thing for me, you know what I mean? So I would actually probably, even if I was making something different, which I am, like I'm gonna, well, the thing is that different is only an evolution of yourself at the end of the day. So it's still you, do you know what I mean? So like, I don't know, I think yeah, actually that's it. It's like whatever you do is always just going to be an evolution of your own creative output, and therefore like it's still a part of you. So I think like staying with your name and with yourself is probably the best thing to do. And then if you want to do aliases, you can, if that's because it can be really fun. Do you know what I mean? If you're like, you know, think of like someone like Artwork, right? He does this like grain, don't know if you know, Artwork does the grain alias, which is just like, or just really percussive, loopy, kind of like techno-y jams, which is like so actually very different to his other stuff. So like you could actually, if you didn't know that they were the same people, you might be like, well, they're two different artists. Do you know what I mean? So if you can do it in that way, I think that's actually a really cool thing to do. Do you know what I mean? But it would be more of like a fun like experiment to me than like a career move or like something that I feel like needs to happen, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any more questions? No?
Hello.
Hi.
I don't want you to have to spill all of your secrets, but would you mind going through...
I feel like I have already anyway.
Would you mind going through any other plugins that you like to use? I know you don't mix, but anything creative, such as your effect sends, anything like that?
Honestly, I'm very basic. Like my main thing that I like to use, I already showed you, is the granulator, which is the thing that gives, like, that just adds, because I always use it in my tracks, even if there's no vocal, I'll put something else through it just to add like a layer of movement and of like drive, if that makes sense. But I don't use like loads of plugins. I just use like stuff that like I need for like dynamics, like, you know, delays and reverbs and stuff. I use the Valhalla reverb, and I use the Brainworks BX delay, which is actually really sick. But yeah, I'm honestly not someone that's like crazy into like mad plugins. It just, like I say, I just get confused because I don't know. I'm like, oh, what does that do? Do you know what I mean? It's like, I know obviously like wet and dry and like, and I know like the basics, but I'm not someone that like, yeah, I don't use like loads and loads of plugins. Yeah. That's it.
Still thinking the question here, but you mentioned having ADHD.
Yeah.
Did you find it hard to finish songs, and did you find a tactic of how to finish the songs?
Well, when I didn't know how to arrange things, yeah. But when I that hack that I told you about really helped me with that. And then it's just like practice makes perfect, because I don't know, like I got diagnosed when I was like really young, so I've never, not really young, sorry, when I was really old. I meant the opposite. When I was like 23 or something, and by that point I felt like I was already kind of succeeding at life and didn't really need any meds for it. Do you know what I mean? So, but I've done like so much research on it, and like I feel like people with ADHD tend to be able to like hyper focus on things that they care about. And I feel like that's why, like, once I learned a workaround, the thing that was like stifling me, which was arrangement, I just like everything just got a lot better. And then the second thing that was stifling me was mixing tunes, which like that's the thing that like really held me back from finishing my songs for a long time, because I just hated doing it. And I found a workaround for that now as well. So, yeah. Yeah, there's someone people wanted to ask a question.
Hello.
Hi.
I was just wondering, because you were talking about your Horse Girl remix before, do you come in with like a slightly different creative process if you're remixing or working on something that isn't totally your own thing?
Yeah, it's way easier actually when you're making a remix because so much of what you need is already there, you know what I mean? So you're not having to come up with it. So it's like as soon as I got those stems, I was like, well, I'm definitely going to use the vocal for loads of it, and that's going to be like the centerpiece. And then the chords were already there, so then I didn't have to think about what scale to use, and like you use my little chord trick that I learned, which also requires like brain power, and like it's just easier. And I think, you know, creativity and like it takes a lot of brain power, and you don't have like completely like endless amounts of it every day. So when you're doing a remix and so many of the parts are already there and all you have to do is like chop them up, it just makes my job a lot easier. I actually really like doing remixes because it's really fun. It's like, yeah, to just have everything there, and then you just add some bits, and it's like you don't have to make as many creative choices, but you do as well. Does that make sense? It's like you're not having to like choose like the sounds as much because they're already there. But
that was kind of what I was interested in, like the artistic balance of like it's a remix, but it's also your own thing as well.
So it's like I use my creativity, but in a different way. You know what I mean? Because I feel like stylistic choices of kind of like what sounds to use, those are the things that like take up the most headspace, I think, you know, because that's where insecurity can come in, and you can be like doubting yourself, like, oh, does this sound good, or like blah blah blah. But when so much of the stuff is already there, it's already there, and you have to use it. So it kind of eliminates a whole like kind of internal narrative that you might have when you're making creative choices, which can sometimes, like depending on the mood that you're in, can get in your way if you're feeling like maybe a little bit more insecure than normal, do you know what I mean, about what other people think about your music and stuff, do you know what I mean? So yeah, it kind of eliminates a lot of that, which is why I kind of enjoy it, and it's fun. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? We probably have time for a couple more.
I think I've explained myself really well because no one had any more questions.
Just before we go, can we hear any more about your album?
No.
And that concludes that.
No, you can a little bit, but I mean, yeah, it's just the thing is, it's like such a work in progress, and like so much of the music is finished, but then I'm still so unsure of the direction of some of the rest of the music that it feels a bit like, yeah, there's going to be, what I will say is there's going to be a lot of vocals. Well, a lot more vocals than I've done before. And it's me singing. Oh. So, yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Well, yeah, round of applause. Yeah, Shanti, Lizzie, thank you so much. Yeah, I'm sure that was incredibly useful for a lot of people.
Hope it was helpful.
I think it was. But yeah, thank you all so much for coming down. Once again, it's been CDR, and this is the final session of our Saffron collaboration. But hopefully we'll be doing things together in the future. If you're not familiar with Saffron's work, please check it out. I'm sure everyone here is. But yeah, an incredible organisation and community in Bristol. And yeah, thanks for coming down. We'll maybe play some of your tunes on the way out, so this is your final call.